The US military doesn't just fight wars, it feeds on them. Every conflict makes it stronger, faster, more advanced, and that's why the world calls it its police force. But even if you think you know how powerful it is, you don't. On today's episode of the Infographics Show, we're revealing how massive the US military really is. The US military didn't start as a superpower. It began as scattered militias fighting for independence. But every war since has forged it into something bigger. And when World War II erupted, that transformation went nuclear. From that point on, America wasn't just fighting wars, it was shaping the world order itself. In the second half of the 20th century, the world was still feeling the fallout from global war, and the United States stepped into the void. Fueled by the economic boom of World War II, it built a military so vast that no recovering power could hope to match it. And each conflict brought the next upgrade. Weapons got smarter and deadlier, supply lines became faster, more complex, and nearly fail-proof. And from orbit, surveillance systems could track a target anywhere on Earth, from heights no conventional weapon could ever reach. The US military stopped defending its own borders and started managing the planet like a network. Cables, shipping lanes, currencies, and skies all fell under its constant watch. No other force on Earth operates at the scale of the US military. Its current operations include over 750 military bases, from tiny airstrips in Africa to entire cities in Asia and Europe. It's a system designed to project power anywhere on Earth within hours. The ability to appear everywhere at once, before anyone else can react, is what makes it both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The United States military isn't just an army, it's an institution that acts like part government and part economy. Wherever it sets up a base, infrastructure follows, roads appear, trade grows, and local diplomacy starts to move in its orbit. The reasoning for this is simple. America holds the world's largest economy and bankrolls its most advanced military network. Through a vast network of allies, many of them economic powerhouses, America doesn't just influence the world, it runs it. The US doesn't ask for permission to act, the rest of the world needs permission to keep up. On paper, the US stands near the top of almost every category, especially against nations of similar size or wealth. But what truly keeps this machine running isn't just money or manpower, it's the supply chain. Amazon can deliver a package to your door in 2 days. The US military can do the same, only instead of a box, it's a fully armed battalion of Navy SEALs. Within 48 hours, they can touch down anywhere on Earth. And that's just the standard. The Immediate Response Force, led by the 82nd Airborne Division, can deploy anywhere in the world in just under 18 hours. For deployments within the contiguous United States, it becomes 8 hours. This is all possible thanks to the Defense Logistics Agency, arguably the world's largest logistics operation. Every day, the agency processes over 100,000 requisitions, everything from rifle ammunition and jet fuel to the exact wrench a radar team needs in Djibouti. It holds 5 million items across 25 global distribution centers. If a Marine in Okinawa needs boots at 3 a.m., the system already knows his size, his unit, and the fastest route. The boots will arrive before his shift ends. But the military doesn't just supply its own troops, it also supplies 89 countries through foreign military sales programs. When an allied nation needs weapon systems, training, or spare parts, they don't call Lockheed Martin directly, they go to the Pentagon. In 2024, US-approved arms deals topped $117 billion. If that total went to one nation, it would rank fourth in global defense spending, behind the US, China, and Russia. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor, War Thunder. Ever wanted to command a fleet of tanks, jets, helicopters, and warships in full-scale multiplayer battles? Well, now you can, because War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game out there, and it is totally free to play on PC, console, and now mobile. You'll take control of over 2,500 vehicles from across 10 nations, spanning from the biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the cutting-edge tech of today. Each one is authentically modeled and features a realistic damage system. There's no hit points here. Every shell can hit critical systems like engines, ammo, or crew. And with X-ray damage view, you'll see exactly how and where your shot landed. What makes War Thunder special is how deep the strategy goes. Whether you're jumping into fast-paced arcade battles, tactical realistic mode, or fully immersive simulator, you're in total control of how you play. And now with the mobile version, you can take that experience anywhere. Plus, there's tons of customization with camouflages, 3D decorations, and community-made content. And the best part, you don't need special gear, just a keyboard and a mouse or controller. New and returning players who haven't played in 6 months on PC or console get a massive bonus pack when they sign up using the links in the description or pinned comment. That includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive Eagle of Valor Decorator, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. It's only available for a limited time, so grab it now and take the battlefield by storm. The scale of the U.S. production and its economy means Washington decides who gets what weapons and who doesn't. Every F-16, F-22, or F-35 sold to an ally creates a lifeline of parts, maintenance, training, and software, all running through American channels. It's like selling someone an iPhone, except this one can level a city block, and only Washington is in charge of the App Store. The U.S. moves its war machine by sea. The military sealift command runs 125 ships, most crewed by civilians, carrying tanks, helicopters, ammo, everything a fight needs, even when there's no airport nearby. 17 of these ships stay permanently equipped, floating in strategic locations. One ship can keep a Marine brigade fighting for a month. 16,000 tons of cargo, tanks, guns, fuel, food, and field hospitals. It's enough to start or finish a war on its own. And when the ships are too slow, the Civil Reserve Air Fleet kicks in. This is one of those Pentagon programs that sounds boring, and then you realize what it actually does. In peacetime, airlines like Delta, United, and American fly passengers around the world, but buried in their contracts is a single clause. In a national emergency, those same jets become U.S. military transports. The Pentagon can commandeer 450 commercial aircraft within 24 hours. What would normally be vacation flights can suddenly be hauling troops and gear to the Middle East. The airlines agreed to this arrangement decades ago in exchange for lucrative military cargo contracts. It's a good deal and a quiet reminder that civilian life still runs on military terms. And then there's those 750 bases. Some of them are huge. Ramstein Air Base in Germany is essentially a small American city on European soil. It has schools, shopping centers, hospitals, and even a Burger King. Over 59,000 Americans live there, including military personnel and their families. It's a little slice of suburban America dropped into Germany, except the driveways hold fighter jets instead of minivans. Ramstein serves as a logistics hub for all U.S. operations in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. And if war ever breaks out with Russia, this would become NATO's frontline command for airstrikes. Diego Garcia is a tiny atoll in the Indian Ocean, and it houses one of the most important bases in the world. The island, which is barely 40 miles long, is a glorified gas station and ammunition depot for the entire Indo-Pacific region. B-52 and B-2 bombers fly out of the continental U.S. to Diego Garcia and then to the Middle East or Africa. Even submarines can refuel there, and carriers can restock. The base holds enough bombs and missiles for the U.S. to start and finish a war with a small nation without resupply. But that power came at a cost. Roughly 2,000 people were forced from their homes so the U.S. and the U.K. could build it. But bases like these are just the hardware. The real power lies in the network that connects them. The U.S. military even runs its own internet, SIPRnet, short for Secure Internet Protocol Router Network. It covers the entire planet, linking bases, ships, and embassies in a closed digital web. Separate from the public internet, it transmits classified intelligence, satellite imagery, and operational directives around the world at all hours. A commander in Tampa can watch a live video feed from a drone over Yemen and receive updates from special operations teams in the Philippines, all at the same time. The whole network operates in real time, constantly updating and synchronizing. And above all of this are the eyes in the sky. Satellites provide all that information at a glance. The U.S. operates at least 200 military satellites, though the exact number is classified. The true number is likely higher than the rest of the world's satellites combined. And they are not just cameras in orbit. Some handle secure communications. Others track missile launches through infrared sensors. Even the GPS satellites that guide your phone and help you find a coffee shop are part of the same system that are part of the U.S. military network. Meanwhile, the capabilities of these satellites have gotten scary. During the Cold War, spy satellites carried film that had to be dropped back to Earth for recovery. Now they can spot a license plate from orbit or track a single truck across a country. DARPA even suggested back in 2011 that future satellites might be broadcasting real-time video straight to commanders. Satellites also form the first layer of nuclear weapon deployment detection, allowing the U.S. unprecedented response times for mutually assured destruction or MAD policies. The Vela satellites launched in the 1960s can spot the unique signature of a nuclear detonation from thousands of miles away. They can automatically tell the difference between a nuclear blast and a conventional explosion. They are so sensitive, they once detected gamma-ray bursts from distant galaxies. The military built a system to watch for World War III and ended up advancing astrophysics. Over time, the Vela satellites were gradually replaced by a 4-satellite infrared grid, which can detect a missile launch the moment it ignites. Now let's talk about the naval fleet, because this is where things get genuinely insane. The U.S. Navy operates 11 large aircraft carriers, and it might not sound like much until you realize that the rest of the world, combined, operates just 14 carriers. China has 3, India and Japan each have 2, and Russia's is inactive. The rest are operated by Spain, Italy, France, and Britain, all NATO allies ready to assist the U.S. if needed. And none of them come close to matching an American carrier. The older Nimitz-class carrier displaces 100,000 tons, far more than the 80,000 tons that China's newest carrier Fujian moves. It is more than any other model in the world. Each one carries around 90,000 aircraft, more than many nations' entire air forces, and crews over 5,000 people. The newer Gerald R. Ford class pushes things even further, tripling generator output, adding an electromagnetic launch system that speeds up flight operations by 25%, and using advanced arresting gear that cuts maintenance and manpower. Each carrier has its own desalination plant, power plant, hospital, post office, and even jail. And they're not just warships, they are floating cities capable of sailing for decades without ever stopping to refuel. Accompanying each carrier is a strike group composed of guided missile cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and supply ships. The battle group can project more firepower than most nations possess. When a carrier strike group parks off a nation's coast, it can project force for years, launching strikes, enforcing blockades, and shaping governments without ever setting foot on land. And that's why carriers are the ultimate diplomatic weapon, and every time one moves, the world pays attention. But the submarines are even more terrifying. The U.S. operates 68 submarines, including 14 Ohio-class ballistic missile subs, which carry 20 Trident II missiles. Each missile carries up to 8 nuclear warheads, with the destructive capacity to eliminate most major cities in any country on the Earth. 3 of the Ohio class were retrofitted to standoff assault submarines, carrying up to 154 Tomahawk missiles that can blow up small ships or damage carriers and military bases. And these submarines are practically undetectable when submerged. They patrol the ocean silently and constantly, carrying enough nuclear firepower to end civilization. In late September 2025, one of the submarines surfaced roughly 500 miles from China's aircraft carrier group, right in the middle of its naval exercises. China never noticed. The message was clear: submarines are the ultimate stealth weapon. And when it comes to the skies, the U.S. isn't lacking either. The U.S. Air Force operates roughly 5,200 aircraft, making it the largest air force in the world. The second spot is taken up by the U.S. Navy, with 2,600 aircraft. The U.S. Army and Marines are next with thousands of helicopters, and when you add it all up, the U.S. didn't just develop air superiority, it made it policy, and it applies everywhere it flies. And that air dominance isn't just about fighters. The U.S. can deploy AWACS command planes to coordinate battles from the sky, or massive C-17 cargo planes that can land on rough airstrips in war zones. And when bombers or fighter jets need to get deployed to the other side of the world, they just refuel in midair. And then there are the drones. While Ukraine could be argued to have revolutionized the state of drone warfare over the past 3 years, it's the U.S. that developed the concept in the first place. The U.S. operates thousands of unmanned aerial vehicles, from tiny handheld quadcopters to the massive MQ-9 Reaper. The Reaper can stay airborne for 27 hours, carry missiles and bombs, and be flown via satellite link from a control room in Nevada. Some pilots have fought hundreds of combat missions without ever leaving U.S. soil. Drones let America strike anywhere on the Earth with no risk to its own troops. Of course, all these systems wouldn't exist if the U.S. weren't able to fund them. Thankfully, the biggest economy in the world is also, unsurprisingly, the biggest spender. But the scale of the investment is off the charts. The U.S. military budget for 2025 was approximated at $850 billion. That's more than the next 10 countries combined, including China, Russia, India, the UK, and France. But even that number is misleading. It doesn't include everything. The Department of Energy manages the nuclear weapons stockpile at another $30 billion. Veterans Affairs added $400 billion in 2025. Intelligence agencies cost American taxpayers around $100 billion. When you add up every military-related expenditure across the entire federal government, the real number exceeds $1.5 trillion annually. In July 2025, President Trump announced that the Pentagon budget could surge past $1 trillion and stay near $900 billion for years to come. About a quarter of that budget goes to the people: salaries, healthcare, housing, and benefits. Roughly $170 billion buys new weapon systems. Another $140 billion funds research and development, a budget larger than the entire military spending of every country except China. The rest keeps the machine running: fuel, repairs, and maintenance across the globe. You might be wondering why the US needs all of this. After all, the country hasn't faced an existential military threat since the Cold War ended. No nation can invade the US mainland. It's geographically impossible. The contiguous states are protected by 2 oceans and flanked by friendly nations to the north and south. But the system isn't about defending America from invasion. It's about maintaining the global order, one that benefits American interests. The idea is that the US has total dominance: land, sea, air, space, and cyber. Power so overwhelming that no one even thinks about testing it. It's not just about fighting wars. The US is trying to ensure wars never happen. The outcome would be so lopsided that nobody bothers trying. Some conflicts are inevitable. The war in Ukraine proves that. But even then, the first number President Zelensky calls is Washington, D.C. The same system underwrites global trade. More than 80% of the world's goods move by sea, and the US Navy keeps those routes open. American ships guard the Red Sea from pirates, the Strait of Hormuz for oil, and the Malacca Strait, the world's single most important waterway. China may have the factories and the market, but with 80% of its oil and most of its goods coming by the sea, it sails under America's shadow. Companies and countries that benefit from this system don't pay for the protection. It comes out of the American taxpayer's pocket. In return, the dollar rules the world, and US companies face almost no barriers abroad. It's a global protection racket, except everyone keeps paying by choice. The military also serves as America's largest jobs program. About 2.1 million people serve in active duty and reserve forces. Another 750,000 civilians work for the Department of Defense. That's nearly 300 million direct employees. Millions more build what they use: engineers, coders, machinists, mechanics. Defense giants like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics exist almost entirely to build weapons, and they employ a small city's worth of workers. No politician wants to be the one responsible for those jobs disappearing, so the money keeps on flowing whether it's needed or not. But what about the nuclear arsenal? The United States has approximately 5,400 nuclear warheads. About 1,700 are actively deployed and ready to launch within minutes. The rest are in reserve or awaiting dismantlement. The arsenal is divided across 3 platforms known as the nuclear triad. Intercontinental ballistic missiles sit in silos across Montana, Wyoming, and North Dakota. Submarines cruise the oceans with ballistic missiles. Submarines prowl the world's oceans, each carrying ballistic missiles capable of leveling continents. Overhead, strategic bombers stand ready to deliver nuclear gravity bombs and cruise missiles. The triad exists so that no first strike can erase America's nuclear power in a single blow. Even if every silo and bomber base were destroyed, the submarines would survive and ensure the world remembers why no one dares to start that war. The nuclear command structure is designed to be fast and lethal. The president alone has the authority to order a nuclear strike. No vote or debate required. Once that order is given, the world has about 30 minutes left. Intercontinental ballistic missiles travel so fast that America would have roughly 20 minutes to detect, confirm, and decide its response. But once the decision is made, it cannot be undone. Encrypted communication networks ensure that even if Washington were obliterated, the launch orders would still go through. The actual plan is practically automated. Once the orders are received, the planes fly, the silos open, and submarines start hunting. And this brings us full circle. The US military isn't massive because it needs to fight and win wars. It's massive because it sustains a global order, one where challenging it is a guaranteed path to annihilation. This is what keeps trade flowing and currency stable. Just look at what happens when a nation tries to go against that current. Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Within 2 months, the ruble dropped over 50% and has been erratic ever since. The country's economy and trade are in shambles. Some military analysts suggest there's only enough equipment for a year until Russia completely runs out. Of course, this system is not free. It costs about $1.5 trillion a year, burning through more resources than entire nations, and it depends on infrastructure so vast it spans every continent. Critics of the system see a bloated empire maintaining control through force. Supporters see a peace-preserving system that, for all its flaws, has prevented global wars for 80 years. What nobody can deny is the scale, and it is continually growing. New weapons, new bases, and that's why no nation can truly rest while another is still developing. The moment you stop, you face two choices: join someone stronger or vanish. For the United States, there is no one stronger, so stopping isn't an option. You've seen how massive the US military really is, but there is a lot you still don't know. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. Remember, you can play War Thunder now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile by using the links in the pinned comment or description. And don't forget, if you're a new or returning player who hasn't played in the last 6 months on PC or consoles, you'll get a massive bonus pack that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive Eagle of Valor Decorator, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. It's only available for a limited time, so make sure you don't miss out. Watch Insane Facts You Never Knew About the US Military to uncover the secrets behind the world's most powerful force, or click on this video instead.